Ag Bioscience, the #1 ag tech podcast globally, is now available on video. Hear from leaders and innovators across food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Mondays at 6 a.m. on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, subscribe and leave us a review. It's the Ag Bioscience Podcast with Agronovis Indiana. Get more information at agronovisindiana.com.
This is the IBJ Podcast for the week of June 15th, 2026, brought to you by Taft. I'm your host, Mason King. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Darin Brown is an executive for a global firm with hundreds of employees and a roster of some 80,000 freelancers. But to do his job, he doesn't have to leave his home in Westfield, Indiana. The firm, known as Testlio, is one of an increasing number of companies that don't have physical home bases and instead let employees work entirely remotely. Brown recently had the same arrangement when he worked for Zoom, the company virtually synonymous with remote work. In 2022, Zoom acquired a startup that Brown co-founded in central Indiana, which led to him being named head of product for productivity applications. He left Zoom earlier this year to be Testlio's chief product and technology officer. Brown boasts a distinguished career in the Indianapolis area tech community as a project manager and developer. The list of companies includes ChaCha Search, ExactTarget, Salesforce, and then Angie's List, where he was chief technology officer. There, he found a problem that he was inspired to solve by co-founding the startup Docket, which then led him to Zoom. As we discuss in this week's podcast, I was interested in learning more about his new position and how he made the transition mid-career from supervising team members in the office to being an online-only leader. Here's our conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Darin Brown, Chief Product and Technology Officer for Testlio. Thanks for taking time today.
Thank you for having me, Mason.
So one of the themes of today's episode is remote work. I will point out that not only are we talking via Zoom right now, but you were, until earlier this year, the head of product for productivity applications for Zoom, the company.
Yeah, correct. Great for your experience there.
Do you still use them?
I don't. I do in my personal life. Company-wide, no, I do miss it.
Are you experiencing a persistent sense of deja vu right now, or have you been checking to see if all the features are working?
Yeah, Zoom is a fantastic platform and is much more capable than a lot of people realize. A lot of people don't go in and explore and play with it and understand what it's capable of, but it's a fantastic platform for remote work.
I am sorry to say that is true of me. I mean, I use it for this part of my job and really nothing else. And can I just ask you something about Zoom? I'm sorry if this is inappropriate. You can decide not to answer it. So Zoom used to make the record button one of the very first options at the bottom of the screen, and then they recently moved it under the more, button. The three dots, the ellipsis, and then sometimes you have to have your screen almost fully expanded in order to activate that button. Do you know somebody back over there? Can you tell them to put it back?
I do know exactly the right person, but I can just, much to your frustration, maybe I can assure you that a lot of research went into that change around that layout. We had so much feedback about that toolbar being so cluttered. We did a fair amount of research to understand what are the most items that people use, and that's why it's laid out that way. But I can certainly relay that feedback back to the person who I will not name.
That's very wise. So I'm at the IBJ offices right now on Monument Circle, downtown Indianapolis. Where are you right now?
I'm in Westfield, Indiana, in my home.
Okay. So technically, I could have driven up there with my audio recorder, but that's not how we do things now.
No, and I could have come down there as well, but I'm so comfortable now working from home that it just made sense to stay here.
Okay. And what is your setup like there? It looks like you have a room specifically for working.
I've taken one of the bedrooms and turned it into my office. My fiance also works from home. She's a CTO at another startup locally. She has her office upstairs, so we try not to conflict too much. But got a nice big monitor, got a Shure microphone, laptop, all of that. Very, very easy setup.
Okay. So let me explain for you and the audience the genesis of this interview. I was brainstorming some stories for IBJ's recent innovation issue, and I thought it'd be interesting to look at people who have developed really strong roots in the Indianapolis area technology industry, but who are now working remotely for companies outside the market while continuing to live here. And I contacted you when I heard that you work for Zoom, and you said, well, hold on, there's some new news coming. What was that? So you left Zoom. When was it?
I left Zoom in February, I believe it was. Took a little bit of a sabbatical. Was hoping for a little bit longer sabbatical, actually, but it wound up I found the right company at the right time, and I didn't want to wait. So I'm now Chief Product and Technology Officer for Testlio.
Okay. And you worked for Zoom from September 2022, to February of this year, and you're working remotely for them as well.
Yes.
From the Indianapolis area. Testlio is officially based in Austin, Texas, but it's, I think, what we call a distributed company. What does that mean?
Yeah, very much distributed company. So they were actually founded and have a fair presence in Estonia, of all places.
Oh.
Two founders are from there. Did a great job laying out the basis of the company and growing the company, and it's expanded globally for the past 12, 13 years.
So I'm going to ask the last question first. So you and I are about the same age. We're kind of close-ish to what you would call a typical retirement age. You have 3 adult children.
Yes.
At this point, I'm assuming you could live anywhere in the United States you wanted, working remotely. Why are you still living in the Indianapolis area? This is not a trick question. I just want to know, why are you still living in the Indianapolis area?
It's a great place to live, right? It is. There's still, moving to Westfield, moving from Fishers to Westfield, seeing the growth of both Fishers and Westfield, the opportunities of what you can do here very easily compared to some larger cities that you might want to move to. It's an easy life. And I'm not sure I want to change that right now.
Okay. Are you still involved somehow with the Indianapolis technology community?
Not as much as I used to be, quite frankly, but yes, Tech Point events, I did not go to this year's Mirror Awards, but I went to last year's. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the point in the podcast where I have to admit, that of all the industries that IBJ covers, I am least well equipped to talk about technology. So please assume you're talking with an 8-year-old. Okay. Go easy on me. Please explain to me in as simple terms as possible what Testlio does.
Oh, sure. And it's not that complex. You'll get it. So we help global brands make sure their products work for real people under real conditions before their customers ever actually see the product. And so what I mean by that is, imagine you're a global brand that has a large streaming service that covers, the world. You have an app that people use on their phone to access that streaming service, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine the number of variations of the devices that app can be on, the versions of the OSs that app can be on, the streaming quality based on bandwidth, right? And so as you roll this new version of your product out, you want to test in as many real world conditions as you possibly can to make sure it works before your customers see it. Now, even the largest customers cannot scale their employees to test that way, right? It's just not possible. So we offer a freelance community of testers that are vetted and certified and have deep domain knowledge in some of the most critical domains. And we match those service providers to the products you're releasing and the type of testing that you want to do. Right.
So it even could be just a new iteration of an app. Like when my iPhone tells me, well, you've got a new version of the New York Times app to a download, and which was like 2 weeks after the last one.
Yeah. I mean, it's that repeatable, that cyclical. It's constant relationships. We offer a subscription service for these companies that that truly care about the experience that their customers will have as soon as that app version gets released.
But if I'm a big tech company and I'm rolling out a whole new product, a whole new set of software, you would also have experts who would take an advanced look at that and make sure all that stuff is working the way you want it to.
Yeah, absolutely. Payments is a big test area for us. As if you can imagine the thousands of different payment processors across the globe, and as you look, again, this is a global presence, for a company that has something that is going that wide, the capabilities to test all of that within a business reasonable amount of time and get the results back so they can respond to it before they release it to the customers is critical.
The version of Zoom where they move the record button. If I was one of those testers, I would say, where's the record button? This is not helpful to me.
Yeah, and you're getting into the kind of the critical difference in what we provide versus what more the automated solutions provide. Right, automated solution is going to go, that button's in the place you told me that button should be.
Okay.
A human is going to look at it and go, well, that doesn't make sense, right? Why did you put it there? And they're going to flag that differently than an automated solution would. And that's the critical value that we provide, is that human in the loop, that ability to use that human judgment to go, no, that doesn't make sense despite what this thing is telling me it should do.
That is weirdly reassuring. We spend a lot of time talking about AI on the podcast, and there's usually some question about, well, how long are we going to need people like me? How long are the human beings going to be needed? But in this situation, as long as your customers are human, you're going to use customers to test the product.
Yeah, you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
AI is certainly speeding up development, right? And we're seeing productivity gains from that. And AI will speed up the quality process as well, but in the areas that are highly repeatable, right? So once you know that button is there and it's where it's supposed to be, then AI can do, or automation can do a really good job about making sure it stays there, right? It's the more esoteric functions where the human comes in that will always be needed. And even on validating AI itself, you need that human in the loop to make sure that answer is correct, that it's not slightly off. You have the domain experience to go, that's not quite right. So it may have answered very confidently, but that's not the right answer. And that's where the humans come in.
Okay. So then explain to me in as simple terms as possible what you do for Testlio.
So I lead the product and design and engineering group for Testlio. So we build the platform that our customers use to manage the testing services.
Okay. And that's an executive level position.
Yes.
I can tell because on your website, your photograph is very high up.
It could be age related. I don't know.
It wasn't alphabetical. Looks like he's important. How big is Testlio today with your core team and the whole kit and caboodle?
Yeah, we have a fairly lean team. My team is 25, 30 people. The company itself is in the hundreds. The real key is the 80,000+ freelancers that are in our test community. That's really where the power of the platform comes from.
That's incredible. You had to vet 80,000 people.
80,000 people, 600,000+ devices that they use, 150 different countries that they're in.
I know one of the things, just on a very primitive level, that we deal with at the IBJ, we send out a lot of newsletters that go to people on any number of devices with any number of iterations of software in which to watch them or to read them. And so that would be one of the things you, for example, might have somebody looking in a version of, help me out here, an Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
What do you call those things?
A browser version.
Browsers, thank you. Yeah.
Chrome versus Safari, and then it's going to render differently in each of those browsers.
Yeah. Professional business journalism, everybody. They're called browsers. but it's odd, because a lot of people will complain. People, with the technology knowledge of, like mine, like, I can't read this today, or the text is really weird today, or I just didn't get it today. And you have to know, the medium in which they're receiving it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key. It's easy within the U.S. to get very biased about the high quality of technology that everybody has in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a global brand rolling out an app that's going to be on phones across the world, what the phone's versions, in, Africa are going to be completely different than what the phone versions we're using here in the US are, right? It's just the way the distribution works and how the economies work.
Okay, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This is the IBJ Podcast.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
Building a home or looking to upgrade what you already have? That's where Indy Grills comes in. From fireplaces, outdoor kitchens, to entire custom patios, we bring everything together to create spaces designed for how you actually live. We work directly with homeowners and partner with custom home builders to get it right from the very start. Are you looking for inspiration? Our massive showroom on the Zionsville-Lebanon border was built to help you see what's possible. So when you're ready to elevate your space, head to indygrills.com and connect with our team.
All right, we're back with this week's episode of the IBJ Podcast in my interview with Darin Brown about working remotely as an executive for a global company. Now, let me back up for a second because I did want to talk a bit more about your resume in the Indianapolis area tech community.
Sure.
As a project manager and developer, and we're going to have to do this like a speed round because the list is so long. You worked for ChaCha Search back in the ChaCha Search era.
Yeah.
You worked for digital marketing firm ExactTarget. And then Salesforce Marketing Cloud when it acquired ExactTarget. You were Chief Technology Officer for Angie's List. And then starting in 2018, you were a co-founder and the CEO of Fishers-based Docket. And that, you were a founder. Was that your first big jump into more of an entrepreneurial mindset?
So if you look at my career, I've gone from startup to big co to startup to big co, kind of back and forth. My first job was actually a developer at a startup that had 10 people, and we eventually IPO'd after the course of 11 years. And that was Double Take Software. So that's going way back. But coming out of Angie's List, I had a problem that I hated, which was the number of meetings I went to that felt like they were just a total waste of time, right? And I'm like, 3/4 of my day is I'm repeating conversations. And so it felt like there had to be a way to solve this with a technology play. And so that was what Docket was how do we craft a platform that people can use to encourage them or automate for them the best meeting practices around note-taking, task tracking, follow-up, agenda creation, and build that out in such a way that it provides a lot of value to the teams and the individuals using it. And so did that, partnered with Zoom very early on because they had not yet IPO'd, but they were on a rocket ship already. You could tell where they were going. And so we had a really close partnership with their product team, and built that relationship over the course of several years. And as Zoom then looked to move beyond just the meeting space itself, more to the meeting life cycle, which is the agenda creation, the meeting, and then the follow-up. They looked at us, they'd invested in us already, and they're like, we'll just bring this into our own system and build on it here.
Though we actually have something in common. I also worked for Angie's List for a hot second in 2009. And a lot of ways it was a great experience, though really at the time it wasn't quite for me. And I ended up going to IBJ or returning to IBJ. But I would say that one of the things that I found most frustrating about the culture, or what I perceived as a culture, was the number of meetings that I was in. It'd take 2 to 3 meetings to solve one problem.
Right.
So I feel you. I feel you on the meetings. Yeah.
It was the first time in my career, and I could do this because of the level that I was at. But I would walk out of meetings after like 5 or 10 minutes where they just didn't offer value. I got to the point where like I'm triple booked already. I'm going to go where I can add more value. And so that was a high degree of frustration. And to conceptually easy to solve, but human behavior is what makes it tough to solve.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, some people just have different leadership styles. Some of them like to really stew on stuff and just get a lot of feedback, and then get more feedback, and then get more feedback, and that's how they work. And they're the folks I was with were very successful, but that wasn't the way that I worked. So let me track back for a second. Is it correct to say that Docket was acquired by Zoom in 2022?
Yes. We were acquired. The company was acquired. The product was rebuilt, essentially. So we didn't take our customers and our product with us. We used that IP to rebuild the same functionality within the Zoom platform.
Got it. So the IP that was Docket was acquired, and most, if not all, of the employees then worked for Zoom.
Yes, all of them did. Not all of them do today, but all of them did.
Okay. And you as well opted to join Zoom as the head of product for productivity applications.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that, job?
So this is where we get interesting with Zoom. Zoom was looking to broaden out their product footprint, right? So they own the meeting space in certain segments, right? Smaller companies love Zoom. Larger companies do too, but they've got to play with Microsoft as well. But what we were finding were opportunities to build adjacent products that were focused on your productivity. So something like a whiteboarding solution. So a lot of times within a business context, you need to visualize the conversation. So building a whiteboarding product that you can use within the Zoom meeting itself, and then use outside of the Zoom as well. Products like a mail, like a Gmail, we have Zmail. Calendars, we have Z Calendar, right? We have a product that lets you create times for others to meet with you. That is, if you've heard of Calendly, there's a scheduler product within Zoom that is a direct competitor to Calendly. So it was building out all of these productivity solutions as individual products, then wiring them into the Zoom ecosystem in a way that you get a lot more value with everything bundled together versus each individual product alone.
Was Docket an in-the-office kind of company?
We started in the office, pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Very small office, a couple of different locations downtown Indianapolis. Myself had a 40-minute commute, which I did not love. I've been doing that for about 10 years, right? Most places 40 minutes is not bad, but it's, it weighs on you. Mm. But love the ability to come in the office and have those, human experiences that occur only face to face.
How many employees did you have by the time it was acquired by Zoom?
15 people max. We were a product-led growth company, which means we offered a free version of the product. And then, had various ways to get people to pay for the paid version, but that means you're not bringing in a lot of cash in the early days.
So you go to Zoom. Zoom, my understanding, has roughly 7,500 employees.
Yes.
Bigger firm. How many people did you oversee at Zoom?
Zoom, product focused for the first time in my career, only product versus engineering and product. 15 people, again, total for that product group.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's very lean. It's essentially one product manager per product, which is when you're building products that hundreds of millions of people will use, that's a pretty lean team, but that's the way Zoom runs.
And at Testlio, again, how big is your team?
Team is 20, more than 20, 25.
Okay. So my question is, you're like me. You're about 58 years old. You grew up in the office environment. How do you make that transition to supervising people who are working remotely?
Yeah, there was a learning curve, most definitely. For me specifically, one thing I found as I went through this process, that my management style, my leadership style, relied quite a bit on the office walk around, right? Not the meetings, not the one-on-one conversations, but just kind of walking by the offices and the cubes and meeting people in the break room and having real constructive conversations that way. Well, remote takes that away, right? There's no good way to replicate that experience, although companies are trying, but there's no good way to replicate that experience. remotely. So I found that, it gets down to crystal clear communication and consistent communication. What are the expected outcomes for the individuals, making sure they're aware of those, what are the timelines, and just having those conversations over and over again to build the relationship, the trust between both myself and the person I'm working with, that we're both going to do what we say we're going to do. As you build that relationship, obviously the conversations get easier over time.
Mm-hmm. At Zoom, how often would everybody get together?
In my almost 4 years there, the entire company never got together.
Okay, well, your team.
We got together twice in the 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I was there. Yeah.
No kidding. So the vast majority of your time, you were operating remotely.
Yeah, and Zoom, a little bit special case, as you can imagine, it's a video conferencing company, so we want you on video talking to each other. Right?
We want you to walk the walk, yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. So you're fairly high up in the totem pole, but you still have people above you. How do you establish relationships with your supervisors?
That is the constant communication. It's the proactive feeding of information to my manager before they ask for it, right? Just give them the comfort that, yes, I'm on top of this. I have this. There's all the, the normal weekly syncs that you have and the various project meetings that you have to check in. But that proactive level of communication is really the key to building that successful relationship.
And at Testlio, what percentage of your time is spent at home?
All of my time is spent at home. Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
So they don't fly you into, where did you say, Estonia? Once a month?
I will be there in August for a board meeting.
Okay.
And they do, they encourage travel there, as business necessity dictates. But my team is in 12 different countries. So
you also have to take into account time zones.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's a big part of the learning how to operate in this particular environment. That was the case at Zoom as well, but it was a Zoom West Coast company, engineering team largely in China. So my evenings were fairly full. Testlio, it's more, based in Europe, or the eastern part of the world. And so my mornings are more full.
That is fascinating. How do you keep from experiencing work creep, where if you have people all over the world who you're dealing with, of just being available all the time?
Yeah, that's a real challenge, especially coming from a startup background where that's kind of assumed you're always on, right? I'm not so much concerned about it for myself, but I want to make sure my team feels that they have the agency to stop, right? And so what I try to do there is not message them when I know it's past their work day. I try to save those communications for the next day so they don't feel like they have to respond. I'm very cognizant of what their work day is and how to communicate with them. But it is, as always, I've said communication probably a dozen times, but that's really the core of all of it.
And then what mediums are you using to communicate?
Slack primarily is our tool of choice. Asynchronous communication through Slack is what we rely on.
So why did you want to leave Zoom for Testlio?
I wanted to leave. I felt like at Zoom I had done what I'd set out to do. Right. I'd gone in wanting to rebuild the Docket platform within Zoom and really work on meeting productivity. And along the way, I picked up all the productivity apps, which is, very grateful for that experience and had a fun time building out those because they were nascent products, right? They were going from 0 to 1 to version 2 of the product. But I got to the point where I felt like I've been in the productivity space for 8-9 years now and wanted to look for something different. And so decided to explore what else might be out there. And Testlio caught my eye fairly quickly because I'm really interested in the domain space that they're in this particular time of our lives where AI is consuming everything. And so, the kind of base level view might be that, well, AI is just going to obliterate the QA space, right? It's just all going to be AI.
What does QA mean?
Quality assurance.
Okay.
Right. So after the developers have written the code to do what it does, we have people come in and validate that it actually does what it's supposed to do. We've had for years the ability to automate that without AI, but it was always very expensive to do because you only wanted to automate software that was stable, that's not going to change that often. You just want to make sure you didn't break anything. Software that's changing constantly and you're having to update the automated test to go along with all the changes you're making, that gets expensive. And so there's always this trade-off of how much to automate and when to automate. AI is coming into the space now, where now it's not humans automating, you're having AI automate for you, and it's a matter of how many tokens do you want to spend. So the cost calculus has changed. Now I can automate much earlier in my development life cycle because I'm not so worried about having the time of humans having to go do this. So the theory could be that, well, AI is going to automate everything. But what Testlio brings, as we discussed earlier, and what Testlio brings to the market is this set of functionality that is it's absolutely necessary to have humans in the loop to validate, right? Mm-hmm. To ensure, because that one mistake in that global rollout can kill your brand.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to make sure that it is that you are rock solid when you go out, and AI is non-deterministic, right? So you don't know exactly what you're going to get. And so using AI to test is much the same way. You don't know exactly what you're going to get, and it can be confidently wrong in its answers. And you need humans to come in and do that validation check to go, no, this is working the way it should, or no, it's not. This particular piece of the process is taking so long that I'm starting to question whether it's working at all, right? And those kind of nuances are where humans excel.
In what ways are you using AI effectively?
Within Testlio, we built our own AI engine to help create tests, like the tests that will be run. You give it a new feature. Given our 13 years of history of all the tests that have been created on the system, we can build an LLM that gets very good about predicting what is the most likely risky area of what you're about to release and focus testing there, build test cases for that, automate the runs so that you don't have to have humans sitting there watching everything, reporting back, and then gleaning insights from all of that run data that you just did. Where are the bugs? What are the distribution? Where are the high priority issues? Those types of things.
But still, the final arbiters are the humans.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. What would you say is the single most important piece of advice for avoiding AI-related risks?
It's got to be human in the loop. You have to take the time to validate what it's saying. I would recommend it to a advice from a confident stranger, right? Sounds good. Sounds maybe right. But if you're going to make a serious decision on it, you better go check it out yourself and make sure that it is right.
As digital experiences become really central to customer trust, do you think businesses are still underestimating like the reputational and financial cost of software quality failures? I mean, like we just said, it's, one misplaced widget, I'm going to call it a widget, can turn into a tweet storm, if we still call them tweets.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely. So it's seen as a bug internally, right?
Yeah.
But it's really potentially brand killing issue or a significant financial issue if that payment system doesn't work in that particular locale, right? Or if you're thinking about brand issues, if you're rolling out a new app and the language localization is not quite right between different regions, right? They speak the same language, but there's nuances between the same languages, and you could easily offend one region. by not paying attention to those particular details, right? Those are the kind of things that the humans can go, okay, wait a minute, this is not quite right.
Let me ask you, where did you grow up? Are you from the Indianapolis area?
I am from the Indianapolis area, west side of Indianapolis.
Oh,
Yep.
right on. Where'd you go to high school?
Ben Davis High School.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now for college, you went to Purdue, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And you got
Mechanical engineering.
mechanical engineering. You earned a bachelor's of science degree.
Earned a Bachelor of Science degree and never used it for that.
That's right. Right. So you weren't one of these guys who made it to like junior year and was like, this internship is going to turn into something. You actually graduated. And
sorry, there was a slight recession going on when I graduated. Certainly tried to get a job as a mechanical engineer, but I was already working for a company doing software work. I was working full-time for a company, and I kind of just lucked into this particular role, found out I was good at it, and never looked back.
And what is it you were doing for that company?
I was
Double Take,
building,
right?
it was Double Take.
Okay.
So this was, to get really technical, high availability disaster recovery software, pre-internet.
Oh, okay.
So if you've got a mission critical software, like your mail server is now mission critical, right? It can't go down. If you can't send email, then your company's communication stop. So the ability to not just have a nightly backup of that to get you back, but a real-time replica of that so that you can immediately switch over to something that it's minutes old versus, hours or days old.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember back in the 90s, we had for newspaper I was working for, we had internal email, but not yet external email. And that internal thing would go down at weird times. And so actually the guys in the sports department had to get really good at rebooting it. That was how we did it. So
you get all those systems, and after even a short while, they become mission critical. Suddenly the company, their daily workflow requires them. And when they go down, suddenly, we can't work. If you look at AI today, that's happening a lot now in the development community, where Claude will stop working for a bit, or Copilot, and suddenly the engineers are back to go, okay, what do you mean I have to hand code these things? Now I'm so used to using my agent to go do this and do that.
What advice would you have for someone headed into a Bachelor's of Science program at Purdue this fall?
I think get ready for a bumpy ride, but I think it's going to be very different than what a lot of people are predicting. This is my own humble opinion. I don't think engineers are going away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any real sign of that. If you look at even the big companies and what they're hiring for, I think just like a lot of other productivity waves in the past, the roles will change. We'll actually need more of all of them, right? The biggest challenge for the people just now graduating is what AI is consuming is more of those entry-level functions. Right? I don't need to go hire the entry-level engineer because I can automate that using Claude. But at some point, and this is why I say it's going to be bumpy, at some point, you need to hire engineers, and they have to have some level of experience. So the only way you get that experience is to hire the entry-level engineer. It's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
We're going to run out of mid and senior level engineers because they're all going to progress through their career. How do you get that experience? Well, you have to hire the junior guy. So I think there's a little bit of a wave where people are very hesitant right now to do that. But I believe that will come back just out of necessity.
So the bumpy part again will be what?
There will be fewer entry-level jobs available in the near term. That's what I'm seeing play out. I don't expect that to last. I do expect that people will start to move back towards, no, I actually do need to train somebody to help do this so that I'll have that person in my business within 4 years or for the next 4 years.
Got it. Okay. Well, this is great. Well, I assume that you should be working right now, and I'm interrupting your time at home remote working. So I'll let you get back to work. But I really appreciate you educating me on this. This is fascinating and something that I need to know a lot more about.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
My thanks again to Darin Brown. And folks, before you get on with the rest of your week, there are several stories in this week's issue of IBJ I want to draw to your attention. First up, developers of data centers often seek incentives from governments that include tax breaks, arguing the projects add value to communities and claiming they'll go elsewhere without incentives. Critics contend they don't need them. Reporter Taylor Wooten examines how local economic development officials are trying to evaluate whether tax breaks are warranted. Also in this week's issue, Mickey Shuey reports on a major flag football event slated for Grand Park. And IBJ's annual Corporate 100 section spotlights Indiana's 50 largest public and private companies. Again, you can find these features in the latest print edition of IBJ or online at ibj.com. I will say it is quite a bit easier to access all the latest business news and all of IBJ's data on Central Indiana's business community and economy if you're a subscriber. We're running a promotion right now that gives you complete access for $1 per week for 3 months, just to get a sense of how valuable and original our content is. Just go to ibj.com and click on the subscribe button. And thanks again for making time this week for the IBJ podcast. I'm Mason King. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back again next week.
Curious about what's shaping law in Indiana? From court reforms and NIL rights to mental health courts and energy commissions, the Indiana Lawyer Podcast breaks down the biggest legal issues of our time. I'm your host, reporter Maura Johnson. Join me every other week for your insider guide to what matters in law and why it impacts you. Subscribe now in your favorite podcast app or at ibjpodcasts.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.